Okay, so today we are going to talk about synthetic division. It's just a shortcut to long division. So why don't we only do the shortcut? Because you can only do synthetic division when you are dividing by a binomial. So yesterday we had one of those examples where we divided by a trinomial. You could not do synthetic division with that. Okay? So this is only for dividing by binomials. So if you actually want to add that, only for when divisor is a binomial. Okay, so we have our steps written down for us on the right. We're just going to follow along the steps. You have a new seat, it's right there, right behind Jack. Okay, so number 1 says, just like yesterday, I want to get both in standard form and put in 0 placeholders if I need them. So if I check both of mine, that's in standard form. Do I need any 0 placeholders for this guy? No, he's all set. I have 3, 2, 1, and then none. This guy's in standard form, don't need any 0 placeholders, I'm fine. So that part's all set. Step 2 says, we're actually going to divide by the 0 you'd get from the divisor. So remember, this guy's the divisor, what I'm dividing by, okay? What is the 0 that comes from that factor? 9, positive 9, right? Because you would set n minus 9 equal to 0, and then you solve, and you would get a positive 9, correct? So here's what we're going to do with that number. We're going to put it down out in front. So I'm going to put a 9 there. Now, for the rest of my numbers, I'm just going to look at the coefficients. I'm not worried about the variables right now. That's kind of how this shortcuts things for me, because I don't have to worry about the variables till the end. So all I have to do is write down each of the coefficients in order. So what's the coefficient here, really? There's really a 1. So I'm going to put the 1 here, and then negative 4 comes next, and then a negative 52, and then a positive 53. And then what I do is I kind of draw this L-shaped box around them, like that. Everybody does that step a little bit different. I mean, you do what makes sense. Yep.
I need to head back down with this paper stuff on.
Sure.
I'll be back up.
So now I'm on, that was just step 3. We wrote down the coefficients of our dividend. And now in step 4, I'm going to bring down the first number. So your very first number, you just drop it down to below the box. Okay? And now this next process, I'm just going to keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it until I'm done with numbers. So here's the process. I'm going to take the number out in front, I'm going to multiply it by the bottom number, and I put the answer over here. So 9 times 1 is 9, so I put a 9 right there. And now all I have to do is combine these two numbers. So what's negative 4 and 9 get me? Positive 5. So I write the 5 down below. And now I'm just going to repeat that process again. So I'm going to do 9 times 5, which is 45, and I write it right here. And now just combine these two. What's negative 52 and 45? Negative 7. And then I do this one more round. 9 times negative 7, negative 63. Combine these two, what do I get? 10. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but this is actually problem number 5 from your homework last night. Take a look at what the final answer to number 5 was. Right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Do you see some relationship between the answer and these numbers? Yeah, it's all the coefficients of your answer. So every single time, what you're going to end up with is the number over here, the very last one. That's going to be your remainder. I always work from right to left on this section. So this last number is always the remainder. The next number over, this is the coefficient of the x to the 0 power, which really means it's the number all by itself, because what is x to the 0? Someone said it. 1, yes, correct. x to the 0 is 1. So that's why this number appears to be all by itself, but it's really the coefficient of the x to the 0 power. So I'm just going to write number by itself. But hopefully we do understand that it's just the coefficient of the x to the 0 power. X to the 0. So then this guy is just the coefficient of the x to the first. This guy is the coefficient of x to the squared, to the second. If I had more numbers, I would just keep going, right? If I had more numbers down here, it'd be x to the third, x to the fourth, and so on. So how do I write this now as a nice, neat answer? Well, this is the coefficient of x squared. So I don't have to write the 1, so I just write x squared. 5 is the coefficient of the x to the first, so it's positive, so I'll write plus 5x. That's the number all by itself, so I get the minus 7. And then the remainder, remember how we do that? You put the remainder in the numerator. And then do remember to go back to what you were originally dividing by. So I was originally dividing by n minus 9, so that's my denominator. And that is my final answer for this. So it's a little bit weird at first, but once you get the hang of it and once you figure out how to pop these coefficients back in, it's actually really easy to do. Okay, so we'll do another example. Oh, all of our steps were here, by the way, if we didn't get to see them already on the video. So there are the remaining steps. We're going to stop this movie here and make a second one with the next example just to make sure that the whole thing records.